Have you ever stopped and thought about how fragile history really is? We're about to dive into those heart-stopping moments, the ones where the future of the entire world was balanced on a knife's edge, all because of a single decision made in just a few seconds.
You know, we have this habit of looking back at the past like it was all predetermined, like it was a story that was already written, just a straight line from way back then to, well, right now. It all feels like it was meant to be. But the truth is, it wasn't. History is anything but a straight line. It's a messy, chaotic, and totally unpredictable series of events that could have gone in a million different directions. And what's really crazy is just how many times our entire shared reality, everything we know, hinged on the choice of just one person in one fleeting moment. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? If any one of these single moments had gone just a little bit differently, would the world as we know it even be here? I mean, would you even be here? So, our first story kicks off with a single act of compassion on a battlefield. A choice that, when you look back on it with the terrible clarity of hindsight, had absolutely catastrophic consequences for the entire world. Okay, I want you to picture the trenches of World War I. It's all mud, chaos, and the constant threat of death. And right in the middle of all that madness, a chance encounter happens that nobody, and I mean nobody, at the time could have possibly understood the significance of. Amidst the fighting, a British soldier spots an enemy. He sees a wounded German messenger, totally exposed and vulnerable. He raises his rifle, he takes aim, it's a clear, easy shot. But in that split second, something stops him. He doesn't just see a target, he sees the man's condition. He sees another human being, and he makes a decision. Instead of pulling the trigger, he lowers his weapon, gives a little nod, and lets the man go. Just like that, an act of mercy. And this is where it gets chilling. The man whose life was spared that day, it's widely believed that he was a young corporal by the name of Adolf Hitler. That single, merciful decision may have inadvertently allowed the deadliest war in human history to unfold just a couple of decades later. Okay, so let's shift gears. We've gone from a decision that led to devastation to two choices that actually pulled us back from the brink of total annihilation. The year is 1983. The Cold War is at a fever pitch. Deep in a Soviet command bunker, an officer named Stanislas Petrov is on duty. His job is pretty simple, but unbelievably high stakes. Watch the screens for any sign of a nuclear attack from the United States. And then suddenly, the worst-case scenario becomes a reality. Alarms are just screaming through the bunker. The system is telling him that multiple American missiles are inbound. And the protocol here was brutally simple. He was required to immediately report it up the chain of command, which would automatically trigger a massive, world-ending Soviet counterattack. But Petrov hesitated. Everything his training told him to do was screaming, report it. But his gut was screaming louder. It just felt wrong. The system was brand new, and a first strike with just a handful of missiles, it didn't make sense. So he made the terrifying choice to trust his own human instinct over the supposedly infallible machine. He disobeyed protocol. Instead of reporting an attack, he reported a system malfunction. And guess what? He was absolutely right. It was later discovered that a rare satellite glitch had mistaken sunlight reflecting off high-altitude clouds for missiles. His defiance saved the world. And what is just unbelievable is that this wasn't a one-time thing. 20 years before Petrov, an arguably even more tense standoff between a man and his orders unfolded in the dark depths of the ocean. We're in 1962, the absolute height of the Cuban Missile Crisis. A Soviet submarine armed with a nuclear torpedo is hiding near Cuba. The problem is, it's been cut off from Moscow. They're completely blind. All they know is that American ships are up above, dropping non-lethal depth charges to try and force them to the surface. Down in that submarine, the crew was convinced World War III had already started. The captain made the call, launched the nuclear torpedo. But to do so, he needed the unanimous consent of two other senior officers. The captain voted yes, the political officer voted yes. That's 2 votes for Armageddon. But the third man, Vasily Arkhipov, refused. He argued against the launch, calmed the frantic crew, and single-handedly vetoed the end of the world. Our next story shifts from the fate of the entire world to an intensely personal and tragic choice made between two friends high above it. In 1967, Soviet cosmonaut Vladimir Komarov was assigned to pilot the new Soyuz 1 spacecraft. The problem?
He and all of the engineers knew it was a death trap, riddled with hundreds of structural flaws. This gave him an impossible choice. If he flew the mission, he knew he would almost certainly die. But if he refused, his backup would be sent instead. And his backup was his close friend and national hero, Yuri Gagarin, the first man in space. Komarov made his choice. He boarded that spacecraft knowing full well it would be his coffin, because he could not send his friend to die in his place. The mission failed, just as he knew it would, and Komarov was killed on impact. An absolutely heartbreaking sacrifice. One life given to save another. For our final story, we're looking at a moment where an entire army wasn't defeated with weapons, but by the sheer force of a single person's will. It's 1815, and Napoleon Bonaparte escapes his exile on the island of Elba. He lands back in France with only 600 loyal soldiers. So the new king of France sends an entire regiment of the army to intercept and destroy him. Napoleon's tiny force is confronted by the king's army. His men are totally outnumbered and outgunned. So what does he do? He walks forward, all by himself, until he's standing directly in front of the enemy's rifles. He opens his coat and he shouts, "If any soldier wishes to kill his emperor, here I am." Talk about the ultimate gamble. And it paid off. Not a single soldier fired a shot. Instead, seeing their former emperor standing before them so boldly, they started shouting, "Vive l'Empereur." The entire regiment switched sides on the spot and joined him. Belief turned out to be more powerful than an army. All these stories, they show us that history isn't just made by grand armies or some inevitable forces. It's shaped in these fleeting, personal moments by really core human qualities: mercy, instinct, defiance, sacrifice, and of course, the unwavering power of belief. And that leaves us with one final, kind of chilling thought. Right now, at this very moment, somewhere on this planet, someone is facing a fateful second. They're making a decision, big or small, that's going to ripple outwards and change the course of everything that comes next. We just don't know it yet.